Hello everyone, welcome back to the Anthony podcast. And today I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Tom Talk Rugby. How are you doing today, Tom?
I'm good, man. This wasn't something I was planning on doing tonight. I'm just going to say that. But when you messaged me, I was like, yeah, let's do it. It's always a good time with you, my friend.
And you, mate, I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this, mate. Because as you said, this was very last minute.
I was like, I always have a good time when I speak to you, so let's do it.
So if people are unaware of you, what do you do on your channel?
So basically, I'm just a guy that gets to interview cool people, whether that be many people in the wrestling media, like I've managed to interview a lot of the Cultaholic crew, a lot of the What Culture crew, a lot of the Wrestle Talk crew. Your good self has been on there a few times. And I'm just a guy, it says it in my Twitter bio. I locked into it, just getting to interview cool people.
Yeah. I think you started by interviewing your carers and people like in their normal everyday life. Do you think that's a good place to start for any aspiring interviewers? Because as we both know, it can be difficult to get the YouTubers on. You know what I mean? Like,
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because that gave me confidence because I was with people that I already knew and trusted, if that makes sense, to feel comfortable around. But also, it wasn't like big pressure because if no one saw them, it almost was like, oh, okay, this has just been a fun couple of ways for me and my carers to kill time during the pandemic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very different to my story, as the people will know. I had probably the opposite route to you. I think I started having way too high of a guest on too early, if you know what I mean. But now
Who was it? Was it Blompier, your first guest?
No, actually, that it would basically, and I might hide my audio sounding for you, Tom. Am I sounding?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So my first guest was somebody called Nikki Boya, and she's a podcaster. But in comparison to you, that is somebody relatively with a big name, at least in the podcasting world.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So you mentioned before, because I think you've been on my channel a couple of times. So you mentioned before that you weren't very strong at using Zoom. When did you decide, okay, I'm gonna have to start using it more often?
It wasn't that I decided, it was basically it's a very boring story, but I got a laptop for my birthday. And then I finally figured out that, Zoom's an app that goes on my laptop as well. And cool stuff started happening through that. Do you know what I mean? And I think I figured it out as well that like I'm guaranteed to get more guests if like I do the work for them. If people are expected to do work to come on my show, I got to figure out, you know what I mean? They may not be as inclined to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Because if they think they have to do it, or then they're gonna be more like, oh, I don't really want to do that. Not to be, obviously they're not trying to be mean, but you know what I mean. It's more less appealing to them to come on, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I totally understand, mate.
Like if I said to you, for example, can you come onto my show, but you have to set it all up for me. You might not have been as willing to do it tonight or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely, now that I look back, I do understand it. But at the time, because I couldn't do anything about it, it was sort of like excuse me, I don't know what to say, but do you know what I mean?
Was it like iPhone? Was it like iPhone thing before then? Like you used to record it on your iPhone and then just upload it through your iPhone.
Yeah, literally just on my tablet to sort of do things that way.
So I gotta say then, because I did not know that. So considering that's what you did, you put out really high quality stuff. Considering you did it on the iPad, and you probably didn't do a lot of editing back then either, did you?
So none. It wasn't till I started doing, because again, all of my early guests were willing to do the editing for me as well. So I only really got into editing probably in the last year and a half.
Yeah, you're very lucky in that sense because some people would not have been so generous. So you're very lucky with the people that you got on that they're willing to basically do a lot of it for you. No offense.
No, I totally agree with you. That's why I always say I'm probably the luckiest YouTuber out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So would you say your first big break, if that's what you want to call it, came from Adam Pacitti of Cold Tonic fame? Apologies for the bad pronunciation.
No, yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. And this is something that you and I discussed last time I was on, wasn't it? That like if Adam hadn't reached out and said, "I'll come on," I don't know what would have happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What the one thing you learned from that interview in particular? I think I know what it is, but
Yeah, you know what it is, mate. It was two things really. It was shut up, which because I talked over him a lot, as you and I have discussed. But it was also have structure to your interviews. Does that make sense?
yeah, like I'd like the start of the name and I've the dessert, like that sort of thing.
Say that last bit again, my friend.
Like at the start of the name and then have the dessert, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely. So like now, as I've got more experience, I have come up with. I don't know if you've seen more of my content, but I have
yes.
segments. I normally start where my guests started watching wrestling or how they became passionate about their content.
Yeah.
If they had a lull, what caused that lull? What brought them back? How did they start into the media? And then I have a segment that I didn't create this, but I thought it was cool. It's called Generic Questions.
Yeah. I love it.
Where basically,
sorry, go on.
Where basically, sorry, man, every question that I'm sure they get asked on social media, like their favorite match, their favorite pay-per-view, stuff like that, I ask them. So now they'll have a place to go, look, I've answered this, go watch this. And then I end my interviews by asking someone their favorite video they've ever produced and one that they would say, get in the bin.
So I love your honesty when you actually say it's just so I can get a couple more views. Obviously you want to know the answers, but at the same time you do that sort of thing so you can get more traction to your channel. So I respect your honesty.
That's the thing though, because like at the end of the day, we're all trying to just make $1.01 in this business. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, if people don't understand that, it's a bit like you and I have discussed this with a good friend of ours, Dom. Like, if people don't understand it, like, don't bother, like, screw them, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I saw your interview with Dom for what it's not saying.
Waro.
Yeah,
Waro.
yeah, I saw your interview Like, I was actually supposed to be on pulling the curtain back, but I had a bad night's sleep, so I could not make it. But
I think, judging by conversations I've had with Dom, man, the plan is to still do a trios episode.
yeah, definitely. But what I was gonna say was, I like the way that interview was structured, and I like the conversation you had because it was more realistic, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah, like funny enough, I've to peel the curtain back at time of recording, I've just done an interview with Dom today and his partner in crime, Anthony, about their friendship and their show. And before we started rolling the camera, me and Dom were discussing the fact that I've never opened up about a lot of the stuff I did open up about, like the way I was as a kid, my relationship with former carers and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, and I would say I would say it was quite noble of you to open up about that because a lot of disabled people were like that or are like that, but they don't want to admit it. So I did quite like that. You actually admitted that I used to be an arsehole.
Oh yeah, like pardon me, I shouldn't drink Coke on interviews because I keep burping. I do apologize,
No
mate.
worries.
But yeah, I have stated in the past, and I still completely and utterly believe this, but like I couldn't have done YouTube when I was younger because I was an arse. So if I got a negative comment, if I got a negative review on a video or whatever word you want to use, I wouldn't have taken it very well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I not obviously I don't want to speak too much about myself, but as somebody that did do YouTube when he was younger, it's probably not the best thing to do to start it when you're young. If you're not mature, if you're not able to handle the YouTube world, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
No, totally. Like I fully would not have been able to handle it, man. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if you were that 6 months or like a year ago, yeah, would you rather the courage to admit that on camera, or would you been a bit more reserved about it?
Oh, that's such a good question. And it's not one that I can answer because it's like when people say, if you knew what you knew about content creating, would you have done your videos the same? Because I wouldn't have known what I know 6 months ago without doing YouTube the way I've done it, both content creating and opening up wise. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I feel like when you're interviewing people, yeah, I think it can give you a better appreciation of people's understandings. Because
Yeah, because it definitely shows you different perspectives, doesn't it?
I know in 2020, it's not that I couldn't take. It's not. How do I say this? But 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 if I strongly disagree with somebody, yeah, I used to I basically used to be like a bully that kind of shop. But now
Yeah.
I'm like what why not whatever. But you know what I mean. Like some people, you're never gonna be able to get them to see your point of view, and that's fine.
Yeah, totally, man.
So I so obviously you don't mind being interviewed, but do you prefer to be the interviewer or the interviewee?
Like this is something that me and Cassidy Haynes were talking about today. Actually.
Yeah,
Because I love leading conversations, but then again, I also love talking about myself. So I don't mind either. I'd say I prefer interviewing people because of general curiosity and finding out about them. But if someone invites me on, like your good self, I'm not exactly going to turn it down, am I?
like I would imagine that. So, for me, yeah, I would have to say I agree with you. I prefer to do the interview rather than being interview, but for completely different reasons. When I go on to other people's stuff, I feel like this is just a psychological thing. I feel like I'm taking too much of their time.
Yeah, like I've been through that as well, mate. Like you and I have discussed, as well as Dom, the verified thing. And like I will clarify, as I did in the Dom interview, what I was trying to say with the whole verified thing was, if I mess up an interview with someone with a blue tick, it might take them a while to come back around to reschedule it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Just to feel the curtain back a bit. I've tried 2 times to do an interview with Joe Ho, but a good personal friend of, well, he's not a personal friend, but a good acquaintance of ours. And
Great guy. I've done an interview of him.
yeah,
Check it out if you haven't already, by the way.
yeah, good plug. But anyway, we've tried to, we've done it 3 times now, and every single time I've lost the footage for one reason or another. And
Oh
obviously,
no.
he's a very busy guy. But luckily, he said he will come on again. But obviously, it's going to take a bit of time. So I appreciate you coming on. I mean, like, I don't this to sound bad, but it's replacement.
No, I totally get that, man. Like, I'm happy to be here. You know that if you ever reach out to me and are like, do you want to do a discussion about this? Do you want to talk about this? We're good mates now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll always help you out. You know that.
Yeah. Look, I do. So moving on to your work with Cassidy Ames. Obviously, you did a really good interview with him. Going to get out if you haven't. Time to talk rubbish. I'll leave a link down below. But how did it go from you interviewing Cassidy Ames to doing a full-on show with him?
So this is a boring story, but literally, you know how you always have a pre and post chat with the person when you interview them.
Yeah.
Literally, we were supposed to go half an hour for the interview, and me and him just got on like a house on fire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For people not in England, that means we got on really well.
Yeah. And so sometimes I forget that not everybody in the world knows that saying. So thank you for that.
Exactly. For Pete, yeah, we just got on really well. And then during the post thing, it was like, that went really well, mate. I would love to do some more work with you. So I just thought he meant, I'd love to bring you on to come on your channel again to discuss wrestling, or if I have any other projects, he'd love to come on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then what would have been about a week after we recorded the interview, I get a message saying, start thinking of shows for Body Slam because I really want to bring you on. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Does that make sense?
Yeah. You I don't want to boost your ego too much, but you should be proud of yourself, mate, because it's not really often that some of these days come onto my channel, pick your own, well, not your series, but you know what I mean. Like you can be.
That is one thing I will say that's been really cool with the Cassidy series that we've done so far. Like we're only 2 episodes deep at time of recording. When is this going out, man?
I'm not gonna lie, it'll be going out pretty soon. Probably either Monday or Tuesday.
Cool. So anyway, like we'll only be 2 episodes deep by the time this goes out. So we've done the Dustin Rhodes versus Cody Rhodes Double or Nothing, which was my choice. And then tomorrow we're recording at time of recording. We're recording Stan Hansen versus Vader from New Japan, you know, where Vader's eye pops out.
Yeah. Yeah, so as a relatively as somebody that was as somebody that's a relatively new fan in comparison to Cassidy, how do you think that's why your chemistry works so well?
Yeah, because, and I'll give you a massive example on this. I hated, you know, the promo after Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes, where he goes, I need my older brother. I hated it because I thought, you just kicked I can swear on your channel, right?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want within reason, of course, but you can swear, yeah.
You've just kicked the shit out of each other. Do you know what I mean? And then you asking to team up. That never made any sense to me. And then Cassidy reminded me of stuff that happened in like the 70s and 80s for what's it called? For like the NWA and territories like that.
Yeah.
So like he'll help me with knowledge, and because of my younger youthfulness, like I'll remind him of matches from a few years ago that he'll be like, yep, let's watch that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. To be honest, 'cause I did watch that first episode, and even I was like, dude, I know what you're saying. But it wasn't like a blood feud. It was more like just two brothers wanting to see what the best. So I did not mind it. I did not mind it. That just
I don't now. Like I say, man, now that me and Cassidy have had that conversation, but I don't know. There'll always be something like that's just me as a wrestling fan. I don't like the let's kick the shit out of each other so we can team up feud. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I completely understand if it was like a blood feud, I completely understand it, but that particular match, I personally did not mind it, even at the time.
Fair enough, my friend.
So, when I was watching it, yeah, I didn't like even though it was live, that it wasn't like, you know what I mean. I thought it was actually live.
No, I think the plan is, as I get more confident as a presenter and as me and Cass develop our chemistry, we will be doing live episodes, but for now, they'll be pre-recorded and premiered on bodyslam.net.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that now, but at the time, I thought it was live. So I said in a live chat, hello, hi guys, but I didn't realize that you wasn't live. So yeah.
No, like, and definitely when we start going live, come hang out with us, guys, because that's the whole juice of going live. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I know we never reveal anything too early, but I have spoken to Cassidy about coming onto the channel, so who knows, maybe one.
Ooh, I'd enjoy that. I'm not gonna lie. And you know what? Next, I'm speaking to him tomorrow, so I might just put in a good word for you, my friend.
I mean, he did say to me he's very busy at the moment, so it will happen eventually, I would assume. So
I'll put in a good word for you, mate. Trust me.
I appreciate that, mate. So going a little bit further back, yeah. Do you know when they compare your interview with people like Ross Tweddell, yeah, and myself, yeah. I think I would say you're better interviewer than me, like more traditional interviewer, if you know what I mean.
But I'm not though, mate, because I've had no formal training in interviewing or anything like that. I've just done media at college, which is why I don't mind editing and filming. But interviewing, I've had no formal training It's just literally become muscle memory of things that I've done. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think my problem is, when they get too comfortable in the conversation, I can forget that it's supposed to be an interview series, and then I can just start rabbiting on for ages, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that as well. I think, I don't know, because it is a fine balance between a conversation or just talking at the person, or basically telling them your life story instead of interviewing them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. that obviously you do predominantly wrestling interviews. Is that something that eventually you would like to branch off and do other interviews? I know you've done a couple of interviews that are not wrestling related, but you know what I mean? Would you like to do more of them, or are you just happy sticking to the wrestling route?
That's a two-pronged question, and I can give you two sort of different answers to that, if that's okay.
Yeah.
As a massive wrestling fan, I love talking to people about wrestling. Like, I went to the Inside the Rope show with the Kurt Angle show the other day, and literally there was two guys standing at the bar, and they got a wrestling fact wrong, and I was like, sorry guys, this happened, blah 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 blah. So I just ended up rabbiting to them for an hour while we were waiting for the show. I just love talking about wrestling, man. So, and the long-winded answer is yes, I want to do more wrestling interviews. But if cool people like my friend that does CBT therapy, if I can reach out to cool people like that, like, the short answer is yes, I want to do more wrestling interviews. But if cool people that aren't involved in wrestling, I get a yes from them, I'm not going to say no to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Now, would you, like, when you want to interview wrestlers or people actually quite unquote in the business, like managers, or you just have it sticking to journalists?
No, definitely I want to branch out and do like bigger interviews, and hopefully, but I don't want to put too much out into the universe. But now I am affiliated with someone like bodyslam.net. This might help me get more interviews. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Please tell me this has not been an accident and I'll edit it out, but I don't know whether you posted it on Twitter or something, but I saw you that you're doing an interview with Emilio Sparks. Is that it's
No, that one is in the can, my friend. And depending on when this airs, it might have aired already on my channel, or have aired, or be airing in the next couple of days.
So you do an interview like that, yeah? Did you feel confident, like that I'm ready to do this, or because of what he's associated with? Did you internally have some, not doubts, but did you have any trouble? What is the wrong word? Did you have any?
I know what you mean. Did I feel a bit more nervous?
Yeah, and did you have any worries or concerns?
Well, not really, but I was definitely sort of more, I want this one to go well because of who it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what it could lead to.
Obviously, I can never say, like, is it Emilio? Am I saying that wrong?
Emilio Sparks, yeah.
Yeah. For people that don't know, what did he do? What did he do work on? For people that don't know,
he produces Renee Paquette's podcast, formerly known as Renee Young. He produces the Good Brothers podcast, which is Talking Shop.
So obviously you don't have to spoil every single thing that you talked about. But did he give you any advice on production, even even like from a virtual perspective?
Not so much production, but definitely like he gave me advice on the way I'll phrase it without spoiling anything is how to pitch a podcast, making acquaintances and stuff like that. And just overall, he was just a genuinely nice guy.
So basically, what you did with John Albert, it was do you mean like that sort of thing? Is it already completely different?
They're very similar, but obviously they talk about different things because John Albert's a co-host, whereas Emilio is behind the scenes a bit more.
Yeah, but you get what I meant, like yeah, like
No, totally, man, totally. They're similar but different in other ways.
So do you know? I mean, you interviewed somebody like Joe Ho, but yeah, obviously you actually said you did not know who he was until he left, Fight for the detection. So because you're not a bit, because you didn't, because he wasn't like hardcore Joe Stan. Do you think that gave you a better interview in terms of your questions?
Maybe not that, but definitely the fact that he was so open with me about why he left Fightful, what led to it, what he would change, and stuff like that, that we had such a good conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, to be honest with you, when for people that don't know, you post an image of your interview before you make it live, and as soon as I saw the image, I would obviously I was happy for you, but I was like, how do I say this? Because I've been speaking to Joe for at least a good year or two now. I come to be like, I was happy for you, but at the same time, I was like, you lucky fucker.
Yeah, I get you, man. Like, it's between me and there's a bit of what I would call healthy competition almost.
Yeah.
But there's nothing malicious because, like, if I'm chatting to someone and maybe I haven't got the time in my schedule, or like I don't feel like I can do a good interview to them, I do always recommend you.
I appreciate that, right? So
yeah,
I've been spoken to anybody else that works at wrestling.net, or that I've been just interacted with Cassidy.
So interviews that will be going out, like an interview that went out a week or so ago. What do you mean, like for my show or as my interviews?
I mean, I've been spoken to them at all, like either about your show with Cassidy or your interviews.
I've had a lot of like welcome to the team, and then I've had meetings with like their technical side to help me with microphones and stuff like that. And then like, because eventually you and I have discussed this, me and Cassidy want to look at bringing guests on. Like, obviously I have discussed bringing people from the Body Slam universe on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know it. I'm gonna be honest. It did sound a bit weird, but I knew what you meant because I like Marvel and things like that. So I knew what you meant.
Yeah.
So I hoping that. Well, I don't want to speak for you, but if Cassidy said, I want you to come out. I want you to come and work for wrestling.net and do our interviews for us. But but you have to stop uploading on Tom Talk Rubbish, would you?
No, because this is something that me and Cassidy discussed. Tom Talks Rubbish is my baby. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
so this is what I said to him. Like, when I was pitching the show, I was very sort of big on, and not to sound like Bertie Big Bollocks, but like, Tom Talks Rubbish is my baby. I want to still focus on that. And that's what he said. He was like, I don't want you to stop because I love what you do. Does that, so I will put Cassidy over on that sort of thing. Does that make sense?
yeah, and the reason why I asked that is because sometimes when people get a big opportunity, they quit their own channel just because they would have put all the time and effort into that. And obviously sometimes they get told you can't upload
I
anymore.
don't know. I think because I was always honest with Cassidy and was like, look, Tom Talks Rubbish is my baby. I want to still do it. He was very cool about it, but also because that's what he discovered me on. I think that helps a lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Like if you would have applied just for a position like normally, you think you might not have been as open, but because you know you from. Sorry, I don't mean to cut
I
you off.
don't know. I don't know is the honest answer to me, because from a lot of the other body slam crews that I've interviewed before I started working for them, a lot of them have like side hustles and other projects as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, do you know before you went in class, before you go into your interviews, is it hard like that? Is it hard for you not to have a vision for how the interviews gonna go and just let it play out? You know what I mean?
Like, definitely. Like I have with the one that I did today with the good boys that give me a whole yeah. There was a way that I wanted the interview to go, and I did try and steer it that way. So, like, I got the big points for the editing and the clips. But at the end of the day, if it flew another way, I wasn't exactly going to say, no, this is the way we've got to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So let's. So do you know interview came up with an MMA fighter or like a boxer? Well, I don't. First of all, do you know any of that stuff like MMA or boxing?
I'll watch it, but I'm not the biggest fan. Do you know what I mean?
So I assume if you were offered an interview with a fighter or like a promoter, you would you turn it down or would you still do it?
I take it, but I feel like I'd have to do a lot more research because it's not my area of expertise. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like for me, I like a bit of everything when it comes to boxing, MMA, and wrestling. So I could probably do all three of them and be fine. But I know certain people if they don't like something, they won't do the interview. If you know what I
It's
mean.
not that yeah, totally. It's not that I wouldn't do it. It's more of a, okay, this one might be a bit more of a challenge.
Like, do you have any interest in interviewing acting or like people in the film industry?
Yeah. As a media student, I love films. And as someone that works at a cinema now, I love films. So film industry is definitely something that I would like to start experimenting with and start interviewing people.
Because you work at a film, because you work at a cinema area, I would be interested to hear an interview from somebody that works at a cinema and see what that every day is like at work. Because I think that Like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know
Like, go on, mate.
what were you gonna say. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
I don't know, like, because the way the YouTube algorithm is, like, because I've focused on wrestling for so long, it's very sort of like almost scary to venture out and not maybe get the views. Does that make sense?
I I I understand that, mate, and I know it was at a different time. But did you not enjoy? Did you not enjoy doing an interview with the carers? Like, obviously,
Oh no, I loved it, but like now, because at the time I was still experimenting with YouTube, but now I'm slowly starting to find my niche. It's hard to think, do I step out of that niche?
I know it. I know what you mean. I know what you mean, and I completely understand. But let's just say, for example, in 2024, yeah, like like you don't want to put yourself, in the wrestling bubble too much. Where if you stop enjoying wrestling, you basically stuck, are you?
No, yeah, I never thought of it like that, but that is a very good point.
So I always find it would be easier just to focus on one particular style of interview, you know what I mean? Because I think to myself, if I ever get bored of like football interviews or like wrestling interviews, then I'm gonna be stuck.
Yeah, that is a very good point, man. That is a very good point. Do you know what I mean?
So, so as you mentioned, you don't do a lot of research, yeah. Well, you try not to, obviously. You do some research. Do you think as time goes along, you would start adding more research? Because I know you said for the Emilio Spartans one, you did quite a lot of research in comparison to what you normally do. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. So I think it honestly depends on the person. Like, if I'm interviewing, say, Joe Blow from down the street, I wouldn't have to because it'd just be a normal conversation. But if by some miracle I got an interview with the AEW champion at time of recording, just because it may have changed hands by the time this goes out, you never know. Like, I would rather, I don't know, is the honest answer. I think part of what makes me good as an interviewer is being able to do organic interviews and getting organic reactions from myself. Does that make sense?
I understand. I understand what you're saying, but I always think if you do the research, yeah, then you can, then obviously we know things, and then you have a bit deeper questions,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if
And
you know what I mean.
yeah, and totally, I do try and do some research, but again, just the way my brain works, I almost find like I'm reading off a script when I do too much research.
I understand that, right? So so before we start wrapping it up, I just want to talk to you about wrestling for a little bit. I don't know how much you watch week to week anymore, but are you enjoying?
Mainly AEW, mainly a, but that's purely time.
So are you enjoying Dynamite at the moment?
Yeah, like I feel like this is a broken record. The stuff that's good is really good. Like, for example, I'm loving the Wardlow stuff at the minute. Just the way that he comes out in handcuffs and no music, just beats someone up and then leaves again. I love that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The what do you
And
think?
then sorry, man. Continue.
What do you think about the simplicity of it? Because I think it's so simple, but it's so awesome.
Well, this is something you and I discussed last time you were on my channel. Simple wrestling storytelling works. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So
There's a reason why that wrestling hasn't changed in 20 years. I'll put it that way.
Like, like, like there's always going to be a place for simple storytelling.
Yeah.
So going back, apology, going back to interviewing for a second. Obviously it's about the individual person, but would you like to see more disabled people doing interviews just because it gives a little bit more awareness, not only to our disabilities, but to disabilities, period.
Do you mean as interviewers or interviewees?
Interviewers, sorry.
Do you mean as like the people that are interviewing, or
Yeah,
I don't know? It's
said-
a tricky one to answer because at the end of the day, as we discussed in our project with Dom, what is being a content creator with a disability like? It's the sort of thing where you want the work to speak for itself. You don't just want people with disabilities to be given an opportunity because of their disabilities. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you mean, but what I meant was, do you think doing what we do, we could inspire more disabled people to start trying it at least.
I hope so. Like, I can't answer that question for definite, but I hope so.
And like in the wrestling community, yeah, like channels like True Heroes, I would like to see a wrestling channel where we have a predominantly disabled cast, if you know what I mean. Because I think
There's an idea that I totally agree with you, but there's an idea there, maybe, mate. I don't know. I'll get thinking on.
Because then we could
I'll get
provide.
thinking on that one.
Because then we could provide a different perspective, like they do on True Heroes. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally, man. Like, again, it's not something that I would have the time or inclination to do myself. But I definitely think there's a market out there for it.
Yeah, you can tell me what you think, but I think a lot of well, obviously not all disabled people, but I think a lot more people are able to do what we do, but they just don't have the confidence, or they just don't have the self-belief, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. I fully agree with that one, man. Like, if we'd have talked, what, a year ago, I wouldn't have had the self-belief, to be honest, man.
Why do you think people, why do you think that, I don't know this, why do you think sometimes we can, like, speaking first, why do you think we, let me go back, why do you think you were so long confidence?
Again, I think it was very sort of because I didn't have expertise with Zoom. I don't think it had anything to do with my disability. I just think it was more of I didn't have expertise with Zoom. I didn't have the confidence that my work was good enough to reach out to these people. But I don't know, like, that's the way I'll phrase that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you know what you said? Like, you're not being able to take like a couple of, like you would not be able to take criticism like a couple of like a year or two ago. Do you think that was part of the reason as well?
Oh, definitely. Like, the fact that I can now take criticism. Sorry, mate, I shouldn't be doing that, really. Like, yeah, the fact that I can now take criticism a lot better than I could back then definitely helps a lot.
So before we start wrapping it up, I just want to say, I just want to ask you, are you looking forward to double or nothing? CM Punk versus Hangman.
Definitely. I think obviously they couldn't do nothing this week because of circumstances beyond their control at the time of recording.
We can say COVID, can't we?
Yeah, I think so. But I was just trying to, do you know what I mean? I'm trying to help you out here, my friend.
Okay.
But also I think that really, I don't know, maybe allowed them to maybe take a step back because we have still got a good few weeks before Double or Nothing. So like maybe just doing one Punk promo was good. I don't know what the original plans were, but maybe it was the sort of thing where like if it wasn't that, they'd have done a lot more. Does that make sense? And blown their wad too early almost.
Yeah. Like the way I normally subscribe, the way I normally say is you don't give people the blue balls, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. I get exactly what you mean, my friend.
So do you think CM Punk will turn heel at the pay-per-view and become champion, or do you think he'd stay babyface?
Ooh, my head tells me that he'll probably stay babyface. My heart wants him to turn heel and win the belt.
I'm about 60, 90 leaning towards turning heel, to be honest.
He's done everything he can as a face, if that's just my opinion.
Yeah. And let's be honest, you won't have that many years left of CM Punk at the high level. So while he's at this high level, you need to get the best stuff you can out of him.
Totally agree, my friend.
So my big question, like what is your personal goal? What is your personal goal in terms of actual Tom? And what are your goals for Tom doing rubbish?
So this is something that I discussed when I did the interview for Waro. For Tom Talks Rubbish, I just want to continue having fun. Just want to enjoy making the content that I make. Just want to have people enjoy the content that I'm making and stuff like that. And personal goals, again, I just want to continue enjoying what I'm doing and enjoying life.
Yeah, I always like it when people say enjoy life, because at the end of the day, life is too short to take it too seriously.
Yeah, fully agree, my friend.
So, but thank you for watching, everybody. If you have not heard of Tom, then I will leave his channel down below. Do you want to promote your socials or
Yeah. So the good people can find me on Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube, where, as I mentioned, I have been lucky enough to do many what I would consider cool interviews. You can find me on bodyslam.net for my new show with Cassidy Haynes called Wrestle Watch, where we basically will take a match each week and we will watch it and we will discuss it from the build up to the finish, basically, and the aftermath. You can subscribe to TTR Clips, where I will be posting short clips of my interviews and stuff like that. You can also, as I said, follow me on Twitter at Tom Talks Rubbish. As always, this has been fun, my friend, and yeah, thank you for having me on.
No worries. Thank you for watching, everybody. If you're watching this on YouTube, then please like the video, please share it, and of course, hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening to this on any audio platforms, then give it a 5-star review for the out of the age. And you can follow me on Twitter, Anthony Talk One, and say things on Instagram. And I really appreciate the support as of late. And have a good day. Thank you for watching.